Hi guys, this is the first episode of a series I'm calling Indie Impressions, though the name's still a work in progress, so if you got any suggestions, I'm all ears. This is the show where I give you a bit of a spoiler-free gameplay and share my thoughts after spending a few hours with some of the newest indie hidden gems. Today we're talking about Lost in Random, The Eternal Die, the latest action roguelite from Stormteller Games, formerly known as Thunderful, the developers behind the original Lost in Random. If you're familiar with their work, you'll notice that The Eternal Die is a pretty big shift from the first game. I'll be upfront, I wasn't familiar with the original since I never played it. But after doing a bit of research, it turns out that this entry is more of a genre deviation than a traditional sequel. In fact, I've seen it referred to more as a spin-off, and coming in blind, I had zero expectations going in. So, what are my thoughts? At the very least, Lost in Random: The Eternal Die is a solid standalone game. It's polished, it plays well, and fans of the action roguelite genre will find another strong title to add to the rotation. I do have some nitpicks, mainly with the story and depth of certain characters, but overall, it's a good experience. It really feels like Stormteller Games started with a unique premise for an action roguelite and built the game around that idea. And in that regard, they stuck the landing. That said, I'm not entirely sure fans of the original, especially those hoping for a direct continuation of the story, or players looking for something totally fresh in the genre will walk away completely satisfied. My recommendation: if you like games like Hades or Dead Cells, give it a shot, no hesitation. I've been playing on my PC through Xbox Game Pass, since The Eternal Die was just added there. I try to keep the footage as spoiler free as possible, but I did want to highlight an early boss fight and give you a look at the second zone you'll explore. Don't worry, this review won't spoil any major story moments or any of the later boss fights. Lost in Random: The Eternal Die is an action roguelite where you play as Queen Alexandra, the once feared ruler of Random, now on a mission for vengeance, and maybe redemption. Interestingly, Alexandra was actually the villain in the original Lost in Random, which makes her an interesting choice for a playable protagonist. The game kicks off with her being betrayed by Mare the Knight, who trapped her in a twisted dungeon known as the Black Die. From there, the story is drip fed to you as you progress, gradually revealing what kind of ruler Alexandra used to be. As the game unfolds, her motivation begins to shift, from pure revenge to something more heroic, as the characters she meets along the way start to change her for the better. Lost in Random: The Eternal Die plays like a classic action roguelite in the style of Hades, offering a mix of fluid combat and layered progression. You'll choose one of four primary weapons as your main attack, each with its own feel that caters to different playstyles. Alongside that, you have a ranged option through your companion, Fortune, who acts as your projectile. Rounding out your kit is the Attack card, a powerful spell you begin each run with. These cards can be swapped out at key points during a run, allowing you to adapt your strategy as the difficulty ramps up. Progression revolves around coffers, rewards you can earn after clearing each combat room. These contain magical treasures in the form of relics or pearls. Each relic and pearl is color coded based on what it upgrades: your weapon, fortune, or attack card. Relics and pearls can also be multicolored, which makes for some unique scenarios when deciding where to place. Matching three or more of the same color grants a boost. Pearls are primarily used for color matching and break once a match is made, while relics persist and often come with unique secondary effects, adding depth and build variety. This blend of strategic upgrades and fast-paced action keeps each run feeling fresh and customizable. Fortune, your companion and primary projectile, is where Lost in Random: The Eternal Die truly sets itself apart from other action roguelites. While the core combat loop feels familiar, Fortune introduces a layer of unpredictability that's both strategic and fun. I found Fortune to have some of the most impactful upgrades in the game, often becoming the centerpiece of my runs. What makes him unique is his dice-like mechanic. Upgrades can trigger secondary effects based on which side of him is facing up. For example, landing on an even number might boost your next attack's damage, adding a clever risk-reward element mid-fight. Initially, I was skeptical of a roguelite leaning even more into randomness, but Fortune ended up being a genuinely enjoyable twist. It added just enough variety to make each run feel different, and I caught myself opting into Fortune-focused builds more often than not. Many of the characters you'll meet throughout your run will rely on you rolling Fortune, and that will decide whether they help or hinder your run. Dying returns you to the Sanctuary, and here you can swap and choose blessings using your Pip Dust and upgrade or buy weapons with your Cinder, two different currencies that you can collect throughout multiple runs. As mentioned earlier, the story is drip fed to you. Your first couple of runs are chock full with encounters with characters that return with you to your sanctuary once the run ends, each of them with their own little backstory and purpose to the game. I feel as though the characters were a little bit hit or miss for me. Some I found charming, like Rack and his stupid weapon puns. Others I found more so annoying or couldn't care less about. I did come to learn that a handful of these characters were returning from the previous game, so perhaps fans of the original will be more fond of these characters. Like many roguelites, this game is designed to get easier as you build and upgrade your weapons and stats. Each run is meant to slowly chip away at the game's difficulty. There's also an easy mode where enemies deal less damage to help you get through the game a bit smoother. If you're a fan of the genre, I don't think you'll struggle too much. The enemies aren't doing anything you haven't seen before, and the polished combat means that when you do take damage, it rarely feels unfair. Overall, I think the game is balanced well, and if you're having trouble early on, it doesn't make you grind forever just to unlock key upgrades like an extra life or a boost to your max health. Okay, now for some of the stuff I wasn't a huge fan of. The big question everyone's asking, and what the thumbnail's referencing, is the similarity to Hades. And honestly, I think the comparisons are unavoidable. The two games do play very similarly. That said, I wouldn't go so far as to call Lost in Random the Eternal Die a clone. The dice mechanics, along with the way pearls and relics interact, do give it its own identity. Still, I found the attack cards a bit uninspired. They didn't add as much as I was hoping for. Another area that didn't quite land for me was the dialogue. It felt a bit generic. To be clear, the voice acting itself is solid, the performances are there, but the actual writing didn't always hold my attention. As a result, I found it harder to get invested into the story, which ended up feeling secondary to the gameplay. That's not unique to this game though, it's something I've noticed in a lot of roguelites. And finally, I wish there had been more enemy variety, especially when it came to bosses. Even for a roguelite, things started to feel a little repetitive after a while. As far as visuals and technical performance go, the game looks great. Not necessarily because of ultra high fidelity graphics, but thanks to its art direction, which gives off a strong Tim Burton vibe. That kind of cute meets creepy style. The attack animations, both for Alexandra and the enemies you face, are fantastic. I also really like the character art that pops up during dialogue. It adds a lot of personality to the cast. I did run into a bit of lag on my PC, but on my Xbox it ran perfectly. Let me know in the comments if any of you had similar performance issues on PC. Visually, my only real complaint is that it can be hard to tell what number fortune rolls, especially during more chaotic moments where there's a lot happening on screen. But overall, as I've mentioned a few times now, it's polished. Stormteller clearly put effort into making sure the visual experience matched the gameplay quality. My final thoughts? It took me just a couple of hours to get through all the zones, and honestly it felt a little short, but with multiple endings and the nature of the roguelite genre, there's definitely a lot of replayability here. Whether or not the die mechanics are strong enough to set it apart from some of the giants in the space really comes down to personal taste. For me, they did just enough to make the Eternal Die feel like a solid, worthwhile addition to the roguelite genre. And that's Indie Impressions. I give you my thoughts, some good, some bad. Now I'd like to hear yours. Have you played Lost in Random the Eternal Die yet? What did you think? And what do you think makes one game a clone of another? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and if this helped you, make sure to hit that like button. I'm Joel from Stunlocked. See you next time.